Thank you everyone for joining tonight. My name is Emma and we're doing a persuasive speech over the topic, my body, my choice. Tonight I have Andrew, Justin, Ashley, Lisa, Deanna, and Lizzie with me. Here is my ID, if I can get it centered there right. All right. So, when Roe versus Wade was overturned, women in America were completely up in arms with outrage. Nobody but you, yourself, should be able to make decisions about your body. As a woman in America, I am completely worried about my rights that I may no longer have, and even the rights that my daughter will grow up without. Let's talk a little bit about the Roe versus Wade. So in 1973, Jane Roe won a court hearing that allowed women in America to have the fundamental right to choose whether or not they decided to get an abortion. You can find this information on Wikipedia and pretty much every Google documentation you can find. Overturning the Roe versus Wade made it impossible for women to get an abortion for any reason, even a medical reason. So a little backstory here for me is that in 2009, I was recently divorced and doing, you know what single people do. And I found myself pregnant by a man who really wasn't a good choice for me or for anybody in that matter. At the age of 19. I contemplated an abortion to begin with, and he thoroughly tried to talk me into it, which I wasn't sold on yet because I grew up, abortion wasn't a thing. You had your baby. We are Catholic, we are Irish, we are Mexican Catholic. We have our babies. Well, I contemplated this. I was dirt poor. I was basically living in my car. I didn't have any money. I didn't have anything. I was denied food stamps because I was a white single woman with no kids and I had every opportunity in the books. I couldn't get a heads up. I couldn't get a job, nothing. Why would I want to bring a baby into this earth with all the poverty that I endured and not having a home to even sleep in? Before I was even given this chance to even think about my decision for abortion, I started bleeding. I started bleeding heavily, bright pink blood and cramping so bad that I couldn't even do my desk job at Wonder Bread. I called the doctor and they immediately told me to come into the office as soon as possible, where they then determined that I had had an ectopic pregnancy. For those of you who do not know what that is, it is basically when the baby forms in your fallopian tubes. If you continue with pregnancy, that baby obviously grows and expands in your fallopian tubes and bursts them. When it bursts, you have hemorrhaging, basically. You continue to bleed excessively, causing you to die. Those results can also be found on the article Ectopic Pregnancy Symptoms and Causes. The pain from the abortion that I had to endure was incredibly unbearable. I remember laying on the bathroom floor, curled up in a ball, bawling in pain and bleeding profusely. With that excruciating pain that I endured that day, you can't argue with me that women just decide they're going to go out and have an abortion for fun and we just want to do it. There is a reason behind why we have to do what we have to do. Abortions are illegal or were legal in most states up until just recently to protect those women. If I hadn't had that emergency abortion with my ectopic pregnancy, I would be dead. In states such as Texas, Idaho, and Tennessee, abortions have been illegal past the 6-week pregnancy mark. according to Totenberg and McCann. I didn't even know that I was pregnant until I was 12 weeks along with that first baby that ended up being ectopic. I didn't even know that I was pregnant until at least 8 weeks along when I was pregnant with my son or my daughter. So tell me where that guideline makes sense. People in America really just do not care about babies after they're born. They only care about the growing fetus in a woman's body. If they cared so much about babies, women would have free health care until that baby was born to cover their doctor's visits and anything and everything they needed medically during that time frame. Birth would be free. We would have mandatory paid paternity leave. So both mom and dad were able to spend time with that baby and heal. The cost of daycare wouldn't be so outrageous. Adoption costs wouldn't be as expensive as they are. It's incredible the people who have to go through these adoption loopholes to be able to love a baby and to be able to keep that baby that nobody else wanted. It just doesn't make sense. According to the government website that I have cited here, there are nearly 262,192 children in foster care. Out of all of those children, 49,684 of them are infants. Again, tell me where this makes sense. Women are going to start having backyard abortions so they don't face any charges to get this baby out of them, or the fetus rather out of them. It is not a baby to me until it is actually born. There is also a formula shortage going on since December of 2021. Only in America are we going to force babies to be born with women, but we can't feed them. And I know this firsthand because I wanted, as many of you on here can attest to, I wanted to stop breastfeeding in December when my supply dropped tremendously, but I couldn't because of the Similac recall and the formula shortage. I was also one of those mothers, as many of you can see on my Facebook, that was trying to find formula for friends of mine or other mothers in the groups that I was in. In fact, I was actually one of those mothers, again, as many of you can attest to, that donated almost 1,000 ounces of breast milk to families in need. As a woman who has received a medically and emergent abortion, Roe versus Wade being overturned completely terrifies me. Knowing that I wouldn't be here today had I have kept that baby terrifies me. Absolutely nobody should have the right to tell me what I can and cannot do with my body. That's just part of being American. We're supposed to be free. Take a moment and just think about what about those women that have a medical reason, like my ectopic pregnancy, that need to have an abortion. Hang it, stop, please. What about the women who are raped? Or the 13-year-old whose stepfather or foster parent raped her? What about the women who are in abusive relationships and wound up pregnant after trying everything to prevent that pregnancy? Or the women that tried everything that they could to prevent the pregnancy, but the condom broke, or their birth control failed them. That's 99.9% effective, supposedly. Why should they be denied the right to choose whether or not to keep the baby or terminate their pregnancy when the father of the child can easily just decide that they can terminate their rights? They can go to court and just sign over their rights to that baby. Before you judge a woman who had an abortion, whatever her reason is, please think about your loved ones and how they might feel.